Hi there, and welcome everyone to our Secure Cloud Applications. So, best practices from the field. So, my name is Tiago, and I'll be your guide here today to talk a little bit about it. Can you secure, cloud applications a little bit better? Just doing a small presentation about myself. Like I said, my name is Tiago, and I work mainly as a cloud architect and advisor. And you can also find me in the classroom teaching, cloud and AI technologies. I also author several content out there, and I also speak at, conferences that they range from like Ignite, Build, up to the smaller, user group. Just give me a stage, love to speak like here today with you. Um, I'm also an Azure MVP, Microsoft certified trainer, and I'm based in Lisbon, Portugal. So let's just get started with our agenda today. So, first of all, we're going to just check, just an application, the most traditional application that I personally find when I'm doing consulting at customers. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how we can improve the security, of that application, how we can improve platform as a service security, network security, and of course, then some key takeaways. But mainly, those um, two bullet points about improving security and how to improve the past security. That's our focus today. So let's just talk a little bit about our initial application. Like I said, this is the traditional application that I see a lot, which is there's a web application hosted in, let's just say, app services. Most of the times it's not even app services, to be honest. It's like in a virtual machine. But let's just go in the PaaS approach, okay? It's an app service, and they come with a configuration file. Configuration file where, basically you have connections to a third party API. Usually you store the secrets, like the API secret, the API key to connect to that third party API. And also connection strings for like a SQL database, an Azure storage, account, something like that. So with this, let's just get started here by, yeah, just reviewing, this initial application that that I generally, see out there. So now let me just drag this here to the screen. So this is usually, that most traditional application. This is a very basic application that I have here. And, if we just check this out here. So this is how to, access a storage account. And, this is basically just this piece of code that I want you to focus on. And it's pretty much, yeah, let's just grab that storage connection string. Okay. That should be in a file like this app settings file here. So we will add it here and we just add that connection string. How do we get that connection string? Well, let's just take this, out of the way here. Let's just move to the Azure portal. Usually you just go to your storage account, and then under your storage account, under security and networking, you can find access keys. And under access keys, if you show this, so there you go, you have here your connection string. And look, people just copy this, they just put this in that app settings file. Happy days. This is working. Well, it should not be that a happy days, okay? Because you're just doing a lot of and introducing like a big risk in your application, okay? So there is a feature that we really love in app services. If we go to environmental variables, you can actually add them here. Okay, and so you just need to say, hey, I want to add, and you just need to put here the value, and let me just go there and grab, that value from there. By the way, I could have done this before, right? But let's just grab this. So let's copy this. So let's put the value in here. And then for the name, that this is already kind of complaining about that. Hey, you need to provide us a name. Well, we need the name to match, right, what we have here. So I'm just going to copy paste this here. So this storage connection string that I have here. And there you go. Let's just go apply and confirm. Okay. So by doing this, what did you get? So by doing this, we call them this application, settings that we have here. We're talking about something that is encrypted, okay, at rest. It's also transmitted over an encrypted channel, and it's going to be exposed as an environmental variable to be accessed by your application at runtime, okay? So what I have done there, and one of the things that this does is it actually is requiring my app to restart. And yeah, look, we did this. Happy days, to be honest, okay? We are actually now, you know, um, running this in a much, much, much better way, because what we kind of have done this is we no longer have our data in that configuration file, but we actually introduced this as an app setting, so an environmental, basically variable in our application. So let's just actually, go and kind of demo this a little bit further. So we have this here, and as you saw, my app doesn't have any app setting in the code. I really didn't want to introduce that, even though that's the most common approach. If you go here and we browse to this app, so I already had deployed the app so that we don't have to, be deploying that app in here. And if I go to storage key, so you see that, this page demonstrates access to storage account with an access key. And we actually see, okay, this logo. This logo that you see in here is, and if we go back under containers, you see that there's this image container, which is a private container. So you actually need to be authenticated and authorized to do this. And you see here, this is the azure.jpg file, which basically, see, yeah, there you go. It's the file that we are actually showing, okay, in here. And so, yeah, this is actually working. And look, I'm not saying that this is like the best way of doing this, because definitely not. Okay, but it's such a much, much better way than actually, going into your, application and go to app settings and just add, okay, things in here. If you have like an API secret, an API key, things like this, look, it is much, 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 much better ways of doing things, the way that we have done it. Is there better ways to do it? Well, definitely there is, and we're going to check them out, okay? But for now, yeah, this we just kind of improved this application just a little bit, okay? So sometimes, a little bit here, a little bit there, we can actually make a huge difference. So, what can we do? We can also have external secret storage that, we want them also to be encrypted at rest, transmitted over encrypted channels, and we want to have increased security and control on this, okay? How can we do this? Well, there is an amazing service that is called Azure Key Vault. And, Azure Key Vault, that's kind of what it does. It kind of, it's capable of safeguarding encryption keys, secrets, and certificates. It has, okay, a lot of certifications around this in terms of security that can actually reaches FIPS 140 level 2, okay? By using, in this case, we have to use the Key Vault Premium, which uses HSM, so hardware security models. You can create and import encryption keys, API keys, secrets, passwords, SSL, TLS certificates, just some use cases for this. Key vaults, they come with several SKUs. There is the traditional key vault, which comes with standard and premium. The big difference that you have, there are more, but the big difference that you have is that standard is going to be focusing on encrypting this with software, when Premium uses the hardware security modules. You also have the Key Vault managed HSMs that goes one step further by, giving you the infrastructure, a dedicated infrastructure, just for you, okay? Instead of that shared, infrastructure that we have over there. Now, something that is really, really relevant, which is about the permission model that we have. So what happens with, Key Vault is we have the choice when we create a new Key Vault. Will I go with the Vault access policy, or do I want to choose role-based access control? Of course, personally for me, it's not even a choice nowadays. I will go with RBAC. RBAC is also the Microsoft best practice, and it is the default choice today. So if you don't do anything, this is the choice that you're going to get there. So that's awesome stuff, okay? Because, this is actually much, much reliable, and it's RBAC. Everything is RBAC nowadays in Azure. But why do we have Vault access policies, you might ask? Well, it's a legacy permission model nowadays. And I'm doing this and I'm talking about this because it's really important for you to understand that you might want to migrate existing key vaults that they still use Vault access policy to RBAC. But again, watch out, really check what you're doing, partner with someone that already had done this before, because it seems to be pretty easy to do, but actually, there is some caveats in doing that. And you really don't want, to have some service down because of, some migration that you're doing, like, the permission model of a Key Vault. So just check it out. It's not impossible of doing. You can do it, definitely. There's not an issue in doing it, but, you just need to know how to do it, because it's not just go there and, migrate and everything will work. Because, yeah, your Key Vault now only uses RBAC if you do that, but then what about the permissions that you had before? You need to migrate those too. Okay, so just watch out this, because older Key Vaults didn't have the choice. Everything was Vault access policy. I have hundreds of Key Vaults that I created that even today they are running with Vault access policies, because, my customers, they didn't migrate them yet. And I will believe that they will be like this for some more years to come, okay? But yeah, we could and we should migrate them, okay? So using the Key Vault in here, the idea is, well, I'm not going to have this anymore in my web app, as an environmental variable, but I'm just going to store this in Key Vault. The advantage is you have a more sophisticated place to store this. It also comes with, monitoring for this. If you're an auditor and you want to see who is using what secrets, when they were used, and things like this, okay? That's something that, yeah, pretty cool stuff that we can do. We can actually use Key Vault. We also have this centralized, storage for secrets, that then we can have several applications using, for example, this storage connection. Imagine you have 2, 3, 4 apps that need to use the same. And if we have to change it, once you change it, well, basically what's going to happen is, everything will change. This will change for everyone, okay? So that's a pretty cool feature. So let's do a quick demo, just about Key Vault. And this is actually, a very, very quick one. So let's just go on this and, let's just create a Key Vault. So the Key Vault, I didn't had created it so that you can actually, experience the creation of the Key Vault. And creating the Key Vault is quite quick. So it's not, something that takes a while. So let me just go in here. I want this to be in here. I need to find, a unique name for my Key Vault. Usually I use this one. Should be all right. I'm going to use West Europe because, All my other services are in West Europe, and I just want to have lower latency to this and keep everything in the same region. But if you wanted, yeah, there is no restrictions. Okay, you could also have this in other regions. That's not a problem. Then the pricing tier, like I said, we have two: standard and premium. For my demo, okay, that's standard is more than enough. Access configuration, this is when you're actually going, to choose between RBAC and Vault access policies. And, this is where you could go to Vault access policies, but look, I'm not going to do this. I'm keeping this as RBAC. There's some more options in networking and, under tags, you could add tags. You should add tags for sure. But look, don't want to bother you guys now with that. That's great conversation for other topics. Basically, the networking, it's always very important. I always like to keep this with service endpoints and making sure that the key vault cannot be accessed through the internet and things like this. And you can actually do that, but that's probably more for a networking session for that. So let's go to our resources, and there you go. So this is my key vault. And if I try now to go to objects and secrets and add the secret, because I actually need to add the secret, you will see that that's not possible. So if I do this and I try to, generate, import something, and I'll just randomly type here something, and I press create, you see there's an error, and so you cannot create this. And actually, this is here. It basically tells me that, look, Tiago, you do not have authorization for that. So, okay, let's take care of that. So I'll go to access control, and I need to add a role assignment, to my user. And so what I'm going to do in here is I'm actually going to do a key vault secret officer, because this one will allow me to manage secrets, basically, okay? And I'm going to select here, my username. So let's just go in here. Let's type my email, and let's find this. Come on. This is not collaborating. Let's do it again. Tiago. There you go. This is the one. Okay. There you go. And we can now review and assign this user to my user. Okay. So that means that now if I go to secrets, and let's just find it, Control F5 to make sure that we refresh this and we generate. And I'll just say here, storage account demo. And under the value, so let me grab again, my connection string. So there you go. I will add this as a value. So now that I'm authorized, sure, this can now be in here. Now what I can do is, look, I could write some code, change my app, and actually, make sure that the app calls this. Okay, that'll work. But I have a much, much better way, of actually doing this. Okay. And that is by using, what we call an app service integration with Key Vault. So this integration with Key Vault is that it's going to leverage something called managed identities that I'm going to explain in just a minute. And what I'm going to do is, instead of placing the actual value on the environmental variables like I did before, I'm going to change to this structure. That's what we call a key vault reference at Microsoft.keyvault. And then, you just put the secret URI. Okay. So let's take care of this. It will not work with just this because, again, we need to worry about the authentication, but one step at the time. Okay. So let's just go with this. So let's go to our app here. So this is my, okay, this is my key vault. That's fine. Let's open our app in here. And under my app, what I'm going to do is under environmental variables, okay, instead of having the value, so I'm basically removing the value in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something like this. At Microsoft Key Vault and then secret, okay, URI equals to, and then here, okay, I need to drop something, which is the secret URI. So let's go back in here. This is my secret. It's my key vault. This is my secret. And if you go to this version, this is my secret URI. Okay, and I actually don't need those last numbers in here because that part is the version of my secret. And I don't want to grab a specific version. I want to get the latest version. And so this is why I'm just going to drop this in here. And if you apply, confirm, you'll see that this changes slightly and it just shows key vault. But like I said, you know, this is not enough. We also need to do something more. This is complaining about what? Well, it's complaining about, you know, that this is not able to authenticate on that key vault, okay? Because sometimes this takes, you know, a couple of minutes, and actually, you know, we're doing this live, but, you know, I don't want to do cuts and things like that. Let me just take care of this right now, and then I'll explain what I did. So I need to go to identity, and I need to create my managed identity. And it's really simple. Just need to press on, save, and say yes. This will actually create the managed identity. And then you need to go to your, okay, key vault and take care of the authorization, which in my case, this is only going to read things. So I can give this access to this role, which is just the user. So here, read secret contents, which is enough for me. And what I'm going to do in here is just select now my managed identity for my app, which is this one, AZ Secure Apps Demo. And if we do this, and, you know, we just review this and assign, and we have taken care of this assignment. If we now go back to this and environmental variables, this should change to green, okay, in no time. So, but usually takes a couple of minutes, and that's the reason why I wanted to do this right now before, you know, I'll go in here and kind of talk a little bit about, you know, how all this is going to work. So we need to worry about what? We need to worry about the authentication, okay? This is where Microsoft Intra enters. And, you know, this is basically the unified, you know, identity and network access. It's a new brand that Microsoft created like a couple of years ago to kind of be, you know, the umbrella for everything around identity and network access. And there are several services. This is just a few of them. Okay, like Intra ID, which, you know, used to be called Azure AD. There is Intra ID protection, governance, a bunch of stuff. Okay, but again, we're not here to cover, you know, this part. We're here to cover a really, really important thing, which for me, which is managed identities. And the idea of managed identities, as you can see in here, is we have, for example, an Azure resource, like an app service. And this app service, I want to get stuff from a key vault, which it's exactly what we want to do, right? And what happens with this is we're going to kind of create an enterprise application in Intra ID, which is our managed identity, okay? And with that managed identity, what we're going to do is we're going to be authorized. So there's this permissions. This is exactly what I did. I created the managed identity, okay? I created I basically authorized that managed identity to read secrets from the key vault. So that means that now my app can just go there, okay, and authenticate itself. That's, yeah, a very simplistic approach, but that's actually what it happens, okay? And if we see this, there are two types, okay, of managed identities. What I demoed, what we are demoing here today is a system assigned managed identity. We have a resource. That resource will have a managed identity directly associated with that resource. If, for some reason you delete that resource, for in my case, I delete that app, okay, service, the managed identity, it's actually going to be deleted too. Because, like we say here, life cycle, okay? The managed identity and the Azure resource share the same life cycle. If you delete the resource, you're going to delete, okay, you're basically going to delete basically the managed identity, okay? There's also user assigned managed identity that we're not covering here today, but with this one, you actually create your user assigned as a standalone Azure resource. You go to the Azure portal, for example, and you type user assigned managed identity, you will find that as a resource, okay? And of course, yeah, look, it's going to have an independent lifecycle. So you actually need to explicitly delete it if you want to, to delete that. Okay. So with this, let's just see, okay, what is the current outcome of this. So let's get back in here. Let's refresh this one more time. Still not working. So let's do a Control F5. Sometimes it does magic. Control F5. Let's see if we have magic here today. Oh, we don't. So let's see what the problem is. Was denied. Well, let's just try this and let's just see if this is actually working, okay? It's actually not working. Let's check it out why it is not working. So let's just check here the access policies or here. So if we check the access, let's just make sure that we have done this correctly. Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, it's in here. So let's check this out again here. Control F5. Okay, sometimes this just takes some time. Oh, there you go. So let's try to do this. Oh, there you go. See, it's working now. And as you can see, let me just show you this. So this is already green here. Like we were saying, this was not okay, but now it is. So yeah, good stuff in here. And if we look at this, sorry, this one here, there you go. So it's actually working. So what happens is, if we see here, so yeah, we're doing the reference. And what's happening is, yeah, basically because now we have the authorization, we are able, okay, of doing this. We just increase with this, okay, the security by like really a lot too. But you might say, well, Tiago, but can we even do better than this? Well, I'm just going to tell you, yeah, definitely, we can. And the thing is, how we can is, for example, because look, we're talking about, today we're talking about as an example, okay, about storage accounts. But of course, look, we could do this for a SQL database. We could be doing this for basically a bunch of other, okay, Azure services that are out there, okay, and that's actually directly getting a token, okay, by using this default Azure credentials. And if we use this default Azure credentials, you can just put this in the code and actually go directly to that storage account, because that storage account actually supports, okay, basically supports role-based access control too by itself. And so that's something that we can do on how to protect storage accounts. Look, there is Defender, some Microsoft Defender for storage that you can enable. You can enable soft delete. There is several, security features that you should enable, like enable secure transfer require on your storage account. Which, look, it's incredibly simple. You just need to go to your storage account, and then under settings and then configuration, you could just go here and just say secure transfer require enable. That's all. Okay, definitely you don't need to do anything more. There's another one that you see here, which is disable anonymous blob access. Okay, that I actually already have this, which is this second one. Okay, so this means that if you want to create a container that could be anonymously accessed, so you could read, the content without being authenticated, well, not in this storage account. In this storage account, you just cannot do that. But there's other stuff that you can also do, which I'm actually not doing in here, which is this one here, allow storage account key access. You could actually disable this. Okay, that will disable what? Well, that will disable the option, like I have, to access your storage account, using that storage account connection string. So you want to disable that. And you want people not to be able to access, storage accounts using that. So that could be an option for you. But how could they will then access the storage account? Using RBAC. So directly through code using RBAC. That's actually, what I'm going to do in this page. I'm going to click on this. This is not going to work because I don't have this set up yet. So you see, get an error. Yeah, you don't want this to be seen, but this is just for demo purposes. But, this is actually, what we have here. So there's some issues with the code of my app now. Okay, let's check the code, by the way. Where do I have the code? The code. It's in here. If we see the code that I have written for this, and look, it's not the most beautiful code, okay? Complain as you wish, you should, okay? But I hard coded here the, this is demo purpose. I didn't want it to lose time and having something complex. I just wanted to have everything in here so that you can actually see what I'm doing. So there's this blob service client, and I'm trying to get to this storage account using this object called credentials. And if we see credentials, I'm using that default Azure credentials. So I'm actually grabbing the managed identity and then trying to use the managed identity to access to that storage account. But what happens? Well, what happens is I never set up, the access for that storage account. So let me go to the storage account. Let me go to access control, identity access management. And if we do a role assignment, and I have to choose a role that will work, like storage blob data reader, for example. And if I select managed identity, select members, and I select my app service, and I select the app service that we're working here today, which is this one. So if I do this, I actually configured, the authorization to my storage account, which is like awesome stuff, right? Because now this means, and again, this might not work at the first time, but this means that now this is actually going to work. So it's not working, but let's just do one thing that sometimes it helps a lot, which is, actually using this in an in-private window. Still didn't work out, but I'll demo this in just a moment. Okay, but this is like awesome because, this actually, it's going to work, and we're now not relying on, any connection string or something that we might have on our app. So that's, pretty cool stuff. So I'll demo that in just a moment. But now let me just talk a little bit about some of the, best practices that we have when it comes to, PaaS. So when it comes to PaaS, well, authenticate always and using always intra ID. restrict access based on the need to know and list privilege security principles. That's like, I think, an obvious one, but sure, we should have that. Protect keys using Key Vault, because what I have done here with managed identities, going to that storage account, I could also be going to other Azure resources like, oh, it's a database, like a SQL database, a Cosmos DB, you know, um, service bus, okay, something like it is an Azure resource that supports role-based access control. If you're using a third-party API, well, what's the access to that third-party API? Oh, it's an API key. What kind of API key? Oh, this is the API key. That's it. It's not controlled by you. Probably it's not even running in Azure. You actually need access using that key. Where are you going to store those keys? Azure Key Vault. And then you might want to use managed identity from your app to access the Key Vault. Okay. You could also restrict incoming source IP addresses, because that sometimes this app, it's only accessible through, your on-prem system. So, the IP addresses or the range, so you can actually restrict that a little bit and monitor. Okay, monitor the security of your app, service environments. Okay, that's always a great point. Still, in some of the best practices, you could also put in front of your app services a WAF, so a web application firewall, through, for example, an app gateway. Okay, and you should also think about DDoS protection, and also doing some security penetration testing. Just hire security teams that can actually go and test your applications, and just to find issues that you might have left in your applications that you just don't want them to be there. Also around networking, sure, there's also some best practices when it comes to networking. So use strong network controls, subsegment your subnets. So if you have like very large VNets, don't stick with everything in the same subnet. Use that subnetting approach so that you can actually divide your applications through different subnets. More important things in here, virtual network appliances to filter traffic, to block unwanted traffic, avoid exposures to the internet. If you have apps that look, they don't need to be exposed on the internet, just close the door. Don't expose them just because it's cool to have everything accessed from everywhere. But if you don't, just don't do it. Okay. Disable management ports into virtual machines like RDP, SSH, and secure your critical Azure service resources to only be used from your virtual networks. That's what I wanted to say at the first part. Some very cool services that we have, and look, oh my God, I could be here all day talking about this. As you can imagine, there are amazing, security services like service endpoints, private endpoints, Azure Firewall, Azure Bastion, that you can actually use, to improve the security of your applications. Okay. So with this, let's just go back into this. Let's just do a refresh on this page. See, time helps. And there you go. Okay. So we have here storage managed identity. Okay. It's being used. So I could also do storage account. I can now go to this one, and, both options are here and both options are working. If I go back into my app, okay, for example, let me go back to my app here, environmental variables. I'm actually going to delete this one. Okay. So if I delete this one and I press apply, this needs to be restarted. Let's just go in here. So this one should still work. Okay, so it's working. But if I press now storage key, now it should not work. There you go. See, because we deleted, right, that entry from there. But look, this is still working. So managed identity, you actually don't need the other approach. See, for storage accounts, you actually just need this. You don't need all the other complexity that those keys will bring to you. Some key takeaways from today. Use managed identity as much as possible. Use managed identity to integrate with Azure services like AKS, App Services, Key Vault, Storage, SQL DBs, Cosmos, etc. Use Key Vault to centralize secrets. Always encrypt everything at rest and in transit. And look, if you don't need access, restrict that to be accessed just from a specific VNet or VNets, okay, plural. So that's it. So thank you so much. My name is Tiago, and this is how you can secure cloud applications. So let's stay in touch. You can also go to my learning platform at learn.tiago.costa.com, or just go and find me on follow.tiagocosta.com, and you have like all my socials there. Just go there, find me. It will be a pleasure to, for you to reach out. And if you have any additional questions, just go for it. I'm more than welcome to chat with you, via LinkedIn or any other social network. Okay, thank you so much.